We all have boundaries. I never planned for my personal life to spill into my workplace. In fact, I worked really hard to keep the two completely separate. I had rules, boundaries, a clear line between who I was at work and who I was outside of it. But the moment I started dating him, everything at work changed. And it started with something so small, I almost ignored it. Looking back now, I realize that was my first mistake. Because by the time I noticed what was really happening, it was already too late to turn back. Let me start from the beginning. When I first got the job at Henderson & Associates, I was thrilled. It was a mid-sized marketing firm in the city, and landing a position there felt like winning the lottery. My boss, Mr. Carter, was the definition of professional, strict, quiet, fair. He was in his early 40s, always dressed in perfectly pressed suits, always carrying a black leather portfolio. He barely spoke unless it was about deadlines, performance metrics, or client presentations. No jokes, no small talk, just work. And honestly, I respected that. I didn't come to work to make friends. I came to build a career. I was the new girl on the team trying to prove myself in a competitive environment. I stayed late. I volunteered for extra tasks. I kept my head down and delivered quality work every single time. Mr. Carter noticed. In my first performance review, he told me I was exceeding expectations. He said I had potential for advancement. He even hinted at a promotion if I kept up the momentum. I felt proud, validated, like I'd finally found my place. Life was simple, predictable, until Daniel walked into it. Daniel worked in the finance department on the 3rd floor. Our paths rarely crossed, which is probably why I'd never really noticed him before. We met by accident, literally, when he spilled coffee on my notes in the break room one Tuesday morning. I was standing at the counter, organizing papers for a client meeting, when someone bumped into me from behind. Hot coffee splashed across my carefully printed spreadsheets. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I turned around, ready to be annoyed, and saw him. Dark hair, genuine panic in his eyes, already grabbing napkins. "I wasn't looking where I was going. Please, let me help you clean this up." I should have been angry. Those notes took me an hour to prepare, but something about the way he looked so genuinely mortified made me laugh instead. "It's okay," I said. "Really, I have backups." "Are you sure? I feel terrible." "I'm sure." He smiled then, a real smile, warm and relieved. "I'm Daniel, by the way, Daniel Chen." "I'm Maya. Nice to meet you, Maya, even if it's under messy circumstances." We both laughed, and that was it. That's where it started. After that day, we kept running into each other. The hallway, the elevator, meetings we weren't supposed to be in. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then I realized he was making excuses to be where I was, and I was doing the same thing. 3 weeks after the coffee incident, Daniel asked me out. We went to a small Italian restaurant outside the city, far from anyone we worked with. We talked for hours, about everything. Work, family, dreams, terrible movies we secretly loved. It felt easy, natural, like finding someone who just got you. A few weeks later, we were officially dating, but we kept it quiet. No social media posts, no office flirting, no lunch dates in the cafeteria where everyone could see. We both agreed work and personal life should stay separate. I thought we were being smart. I thought no one knew. I was so wrong. The first sign that something was wrong came during a team meeting about 2 months into my relationship with Daniel. I was presenting a campaign concept I'd been working on for weeks, a social media strategy for one of our biggest clients. I'd actually pitched a similar idea to Mr. Carter privately a few weeks earlier, and he'd loved it. He called it innovative and exactly the kind of thinking we need. So I was confident going into that meeting. I stood at the front of the conference room, clicking through my slides, explaining the strategy, the target demographics, the projected engagement rates. The team seemed engaged. People were nodding, taking notes. But Mr. Carter? He barely looked at me. He sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, staring at his phone. When I finished, there was a brief silence. "Any thoughts?" I asked, looking directly at him. He glanced up. His expression was cold, unreadable. "We'll revisit that later," he said dismissively. "Let's move on to the quarterly reports." The room went quiet. Uncomfortable. I felt my face flush with embarrassment. What just happened? This was the same idea he praised weeks ago, the same concept, the same data. What changed? I sat down trying to process it while someone else took over the presentation. My coworker Jessica leaned over and whispered, "Don't take it personally. He's been in a weird mood lately." But it felt personal. Very personal. And that was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, things got progressively worse. Tasks that were suddenly urgent would land on my desk at 4:30 p.m. with a deadline of end of day. Deadlines that didn't exist before appeared out of nowhere. Work I'd submitted, work that had always been praised as excellent, came back covered in red ink with corrections and criticisms. My schedule was changed without warning. I'd arrive Monday morning to find I'd been reassigned to different projects, different teams, different clients. And every single time Daniel came up in conversation, even casually, my boss's entire mood would shift. His jaw would tighten. His responses would become clipped. He'd find an excuse to leave the room. I started to notice other things, too. During meetings, Mr. Carter would interrupt me more frequently. He'd question my suggestions in front of clients. He'd assign my projects to other team members without explanation. One afternoon, I was working late, trying to finish one of those impossible same-day deadlines, when I overheard something I wasn't supposed to hear. Two co-workers, Sarah and Tom, were standing near the printer outside my cubicle. They thought I'd left for the day. "Did you notice how he treats her now?" Sarah's voice was low but clear. "Yeah, ever since she started dating Daniel." Tom sounded uncomfortable even saying it. "It's so obvious he's being petty." "Do you think she knows?" "How could she not?" My stomach dropped. I sat frozen at my desk, not breathing, not moving. So he knew about Daniel. But why did it matter? Why would my boss care who I was dating? That night, I went home and told Daniel everything. We were sitting on his couch, and I was shaking as I explained what I'd overheard. "That's not right," Daniel said immediately. "That's workplace harassment, Maya." "But I don't have proof. It's just a feeling and some overheard gossip." "Your feelings matter. And if other people are noticing it too, that's not nothing." "What am I supposed to do? Go to HR and say my boss is mean to me now?" Daniel pulled me close. "Let's just document everything. Dates, times, specific incidents. If it gets worse, you'll have a record." I nodded, but I felt sick. This was my dream job, my career, my future, and it was falling apart because of something completely outside my control. Things didn't get better. They got worse, much worse. My performance reviews, which had always been glowing, suddenly became harsh and critical. Opportunities I'd earned, leading a new client pitch, attending an industry conference, mentoring a junior employee were suddenly postponed or given to someone else. I felt like I was being erased, slowly, deliberately. And then, on a Friday afternoon 3 months after I started dating Daniel, Mr. Carter called me into his office. "Maya, can I see you for a moment?" My heart sank. I followed him into his office. He closed the door behind us. That had never happened before. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. I sat down, trying to keep my hands from shaking. He sat back in his chair, fingers steepled, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. The silence stretched on for what felt like forever. "I've been reviewing your recent work," he finally said. "Okay. Your performance has been inconsistent." I blinked. "Inconsistent?" "Yes. Your attention to detail has slipped. You've missed deadlines. Your presentations lack the quality I've come to expect from you." Every word felt like a punch, because none of it was true. I'd been working harder than ever, staying later, double-checking everything, terrified of making mistakes. "I don't understand," I said carefully. "Can you give me specific examples?" "It's a pattern, Maya, an overall decline. But you haven't given me any feedback until now. How am I supposed to improve if—" "I didn't expect you to be that kind of employee." The words hung in the air between us. I froze. "What kind?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer, just looked at me with something that might have been disappointment, or anger, or something worse. The silence that followed said everything. That's when I understood. This wasn't about my work. This had never been about my work. My boss wasn't angry about missed deadlines or inconsistent performance. He was angry about my choice, about who I was dating, about the fact that I didn't choose him. The realization hit me like ice water.